Pixar's upcoming film, Turning Red, looks like it is going to be an absolute blast. So far, what we know is that the movie is going to be following Mei Lee, a 13-year-old girl who can be seen as confident yet quite dorky. Throughout the film, we will see her torn between the standard chaos of adolescence and doing her best to stay the good, responsible child that her mother expects her to be. Oh yeah, and to make matters worse, when she finds herself getting excited, which if you remember as a teenager happens all of the time, Mei ends up poofing into a ginormous red panda. Turning Red is being written and directed by Domee Shi, who has her own special connections to the characters, and it is set to release on March 11th of 2022. As of right now, not much is known about the film other than what we saw in the recently released trailer. But don't worry, as always with Pixar films, the trailer was actually packed full of clues that will help us get a better understanding of who Mei Lee is and why she transforms under pressure. From things like the school she attends to how her mother is acting, there's just a ton to take in from this trailer. And all of these subtle clues actually help us answer the biggest burning question we have. Why does Mei turn into a giant red panda? And that's exactly what we are going to unpack today. So make sure to stay to the end of the video for our prediction on how and why she turns into a giant red panda. What was one of the first things you noticed when you watched the trailer for Turning Red? A lot of people, myself included, took note of the fact that the movie is going to be taking place in Canada almost immediately. That was made clear right off the bat. You can tell this straight from the beginning by looking at some of the things found in and around the school, including the school's actual name. You see, the school that Mei appears to be attending in the movie is named Lester B. Pearson Middle School, after the Prime Minister of Canada. Not to mention that there appears to be two flags on the front of the school that are most definitely Canadian flags with the signature maple leaf on them. The maple leaf itself actually makes multiple appearances throughout the trailer, including on Mei's shirt after we see her briefly turn back from being a panda. Also, if you've been to Toronto, there is a good chance you have seen a building known as the CN Tower. Well, you can actually see the CN Tower in the background while Mei is stumbling across the rooftops, meaning that Turning Red for sure takes place in Canada. Plus, if you didn't know, at this point in time of the trailer's release, creators have already confirmed its location in a couple of synopses provided about the movie. Now, even though it takes place in Canada, it's also very clear that the movie is going to contain a ton of Chinese culture. For instance, remember that scene in the trailer when Mei is frantically running across the rooftops and the camera focuses on the elderly man? He appears to be watering some plants on a little rooftop patio that he has. On that patio, there are actually a few things that come from a Chinese origin, like the paper lantern that is hanging from his roof in front of the window, or all of the other paper lanterns that are hanging between the streetlights. Like many cities around the world, Toronto has a part of it known as Chinatown that is full of Chinese heritage, and it seems likely that a lot of the film is going to be set here. So, concluding its location, it will still be in Canada, but we will also get a taste of Mei's heritage. What's really cool is that the director of the film, Domee Shi, is actually going to be able to take a lot from her own life, because she was a lot like Mei, born in China but moved to Canada at a young age. So we will be getting almost a first-hand account of what the adjustment was like for her and her family. Okay, so we all know that Pixar loves to connect all of their films, right? Well, it looks like there is a small chance that the connection is a bit bigger between Turning Red and their movie Soul. Anyone who has watched Pixar's Soul was enchanted by the amazing character design and fully engaged by 22's journey to finally become a human. Though she may not have realized it, it was what she wanted all along. Throughout Soul, we got to watch Joe as he mentored 22 after accidentally becoming a soul himself, with his sole task, no pun intended, being to help 22 find her passion and help her move on to her next phase of existence. And, as we saw, it worked. Joe and 22 did it, and 22 was finally on her way to Earth. More specifically, it looked like she was heading towards Asia, maybe even China. This factor, along with a few other clues, might be telling us that we will be meeting the person that 22 became in Turning Red. How cool! In fact, knowing that Mei's family might have moved to Canada from China points directly at a possible film connection. Now, we don't think that Mei is 22, but if that's where 22 ended up, maybe they grew up close to one another. China is huge, but that is still a possibility. And an even bigger clue of who 22 is in Turning Red has us looking directly at Mei Ling's friend. One fan pointed out that the friend sitting next to Mei at school in the beginning of the trailer seemed to be wearing a lot of green, which is actually very similar to Soul colors, specifically 22. And to add on more of a layer, Mei's friend also wears braces, which if we remember 22, she had some pretty cool but slightly uneven front teeth as well. Mei wears a lot of red, which shouldn't be too surprising considering her strange ability, and it looks like her friend loves to sport the color green for some reason. No other child in this scene seems to have this level of uniformed wardrobe color, other than these two. And as we know, Pixar loves to use symbolism where they can, and sometimes placing subtle Easter eggs in the films and their trailers is how Pixar continues to engage its audience. What's really cool about the movie is that it seems like it is going to have a lot of diverse representations, which is always a great thing to see. Just from the trailer, we can see that the teacher is from Slovakia. Not only does he have an accent, but another big clue can be found in the poster hanging up on the wall of his classroom. It depicts the upset between the Soviet Union's hockey players and the American hockey players in 1980. Or another great representation is a security guard who appears to be a Sikh. And finally, many fans even saw one of the students with an insulin pump in the classroom scene, diversifying the representation pool even further. In today's world, representation matters more than ever, so a lot of fans are very happy with the apparent social diversity that we will be seeing throughout the film. That is for sure. With all of the diversity represented in the trailer alone, a lot of people are beginning to conclude that Turning Red is going to be about accepting who you are and embracing one's differences as well as their lineage. No two people are exactly the same, and that is more than fine. Our differences are what make us stronger as individuals, and it looks like Pixar's newest film is going to help portray that very valuable lesson. Okay, so what does any of this have to do with Mei turning into a gigantic red panda? And why does it only happen to her when she gets overwhelmed or excited? That's the big question. Well, our theory states that Mei's mother holds a big connection between Mei's gift and where it originated from, specifically looking at the red necklace that she is seen wearing in the trailer. Hold on, because there's actually a lot to unpack here. The first thing to mention are the massive similarities between Mei's family and the director of Turning Red, Domee Shi. Domee Shi moved to Canada from China at a young age, leading us to confidently say that it is likely Mei and her family moved to Canada from China as well. Also, Domee Shi claims that her mother was overprotective, much like Mei's mother in the film. She says, "My Chinese mom was always making sure I never wandered away too far, that I was safe," which is most likely what we see happening while Mei is at school. Another thing to take note of is what causes Mei's transformation in the first place. Obviously, we know that it is caused in some way by her feeling anxious or excited. But contrary to popular belief, her transformation does not have to do with the emotion itself, rather from an acceleration in her heart rate, which is dramatized in the trailer when her mom makes an appearance at her school. It's almost like her body is instinctively kicking into some sort of fight or flight mode anytime it feels her heart rate increasing. That's probably why they zeroed in on her heartbeat and eyes as she noticed her mother outside of her classroom and began to freak out. Mei's defense mechanism is to transform herself into a giant red panda, and it's likely that her mom is aware of this, which is why she appears to be so overprotective and overbearing in the trailer. So, what can we take away from all of this? First, we know that Mei's gift is a sort of defense mechanism that is genetic and has probably existed since birth. I mean, did you happen to notice the color of Mei's hair? The resemblance to the fur of a red panda is uncanny, and it's got a lot of people thinking, if Mei's mother has jet black hair, why does Mei have red hair? The most likely answer to that is that her hair is connected to her gift and is specifically that color because of what she can transform into. We can also conclude that she got her gift from China, her birthplace. We know that the film is going to be gently based off the director's life in some way, so it is highly likely that Mei's gift is a symbolic representation of what Domee Shi experienced when she moved to Canada. And knowing that Domee Shi had an overprotective mother as well, there is probably going to be some sort of answer to her gift through her mother and her heritage, leading a lot of people to take a look at the subtle clues presented about Mei's mother in the trailer, specifically her red necklace. Many think that there is something very meaningful about that red necklace. Not only is it the same color that Mei transforms into and wears in her outfits, but it's theorized that it may hold some heritage information about their family that we don't yet know. And knowing Pixar and their ability to hide subtle clues in plain sight, it's safe to assume that the concept of the red panda will play a major role in the movie. It's probably not a coincidence that they chose a red panda for Mei's animal. For those of you who don't know, red pandas are indigenous to the area in and around the eastern Himalayan mountains, meaning places like Bhutan and China. We also know that red pandas are rather solitary creatures, symbolizing patience and compromise, even feelings of relaxation. Which is interesting considering the fact that an elevated heart rate, the opposite of relaxation, is what causes Mei to transform. This means that it is likely that Mei's problem may actually be indicating her exact solution: peace and acceptance of who she is, and even where she came from. Not only paralleling Domee Shi's possible transition to a new life and culture in Canada, but also her lessons that she learned as a teenager as well, learning to be more comfortable and independent throughout the course of her growing up experience. She will likely become more confident in herself and her gift, which will lead her to embracing her individuality, hopefully showing her mother mother the ability to be independent with her gift in order to receive a bit more breathing room for her teenage life. There is also a good chance that she's going to find some sort of healthy outlet that will help her to calm down, much like we see in the trailer when she's brushing her hair to calm herself down and turn back into a human. And it's likely that Mei isn't going to be making this emotional journey on her own. Odds are she's going to find help from many of the diverse faces we saw in the trailer. Diversity and acceptance seem to play a major role in the trailer, meaning that Mei will probably learn a different lesson from each one of them that will end up helping her overcome her problem and teach her to be proud of who she is and where she came from. From the looks of it, Pixar's newest film, Turning Red, is going to be another instant classic. It is set to be released on March 11th, 2022, so be sure to mark your calendars. That's all, Disney fans. Let us know what you thought of this video in the comments, and like and subscribe for more magically packed videos.